Welcome to part 2 of the vectors series. In this video, we will talk about vector indices. So a little refresher from the last video. Vectors are the fundamental structure for storing collections of data, yet you often want to work with some data in a vector. We will discuss ways to get a subset of elements in a vector. You can refer to individual elements in a vector by their index, which is in their position. Our vector elements start at 1. Many programming languages start with 0 indexing. So what is an index? Below we have an example of a vector, which is called vowels, and we're going to see what's an index. The first element is index 1. The second element, which is E, is index 2. This is index 3, index 4, and index 5. How can we retrieve a value from a vector? We use bracket notation. With bracket notation, we can refer to an element in a particular index of a vector by writing a name of the vector followed by brackets. So our first task is at hand. Create a vector with 4 elements. Access the element at index 1, 2, and 4, and print each. Alright, so let's create a vector with 4 elements. Let's say some places. I'm going to give a place Seattle, Denver, Portland, and Chicago. So we have our vector with 4 elements. Now we have to access element at index 1, 2, and 4 and print each of them. So we're going to call it, we're going to create a new variable, first place. We're going to say some places and access first element, print first place. So what's going on here? Basically, we wrote a new variable and we're going to assign the some places function to the variable. And not only that, but we're assigning a number to the function, which is we're saying, okay, please access element 1 in the some places function. Element 1 is Seattle. So printed, we should get Seattle. Alright, now we have to access element 2 and 4. To make this process faster, I'm just going to copy and paste and change the name of the variables and numbers. So the second variable we'll just call it second place 2 and second place. And for the fourth one, we'll just change the number and the name again, fourth place. And right here, we call fourth place. We're going to highlight it and then we're going to run it. We get Seattle, Denver, Chicago. Access an element using a variable. We can also access elements with variables. So far we've been using numbers, but I'll give you an example of accessing an element with a variable. But first we have to create a new variable. So let's just say last index. That's going to be the name of our new variable. And we're going to use the length function to help us access an element. So we're going to use the length, and then we're going to call the original function, which is someplace, into the length function. So right here, it's saying, okay, last index, you will have a value of the length of the some places functions. So we know that the value of the length of the some places functions is 4 because there's only 4 elements. So therefore, last index has a value of 4. All right, that's the first part of it. Then we write another variable. We're going to call it last place, and we're going to assign the function again to some places, and we're going to say last index. So the last place variable accesses the some places function, and then it has to access the last index because we're assigning this value for into here. So in return, we should get Chicago. We go here, last place, Chicago. If you specify an index beyond the presented elements in the brackets, you will get an out of bounds, not available message. Give an example. So for example, We know that we have 4 elements, but let's say we want to access element 6. Let's see what happens. NA, not available. We know that because there isn't any more than 4 elements. If you specify a negative number in square brackets, you will get all elements except the negative index specified. So basically we say -2, we're going to get everything else except the element at 2. We're going to run that. We get Seattle, Portland, Chicago. Seattle, Portland, Chicago, 1, 3, 4. We don't have Denver there because it's in the second index. Multiple indices. In R, everything is a vector. That is important to remember. Everything is a vector. When you put a single number inside a square brackets, you are actually putting a vector with a single element to it. You're actually specifying a vector of indices that you want R to extract. You can put any vector of any length inside the brackets. R will extract all elements within those indices, producing a subset of vector elements. Create a colors vector. Okay, colors. I'm going to create a vector. I'm going to put color names. Green, yellow, blue, and then I say orange. Vector of indices to extract. Use a variable to create a new vector. So at this point we create a new variable and we're going to call it indices just to help us and make it clear. So indices, we'll say, alright, we're going to access elements 1, 3, and 4. And we're forgetting the vector call, which is a C. Now it says retrieve the colors at those indices. So now we have to use a variable to retrieve them. Extracted, we're going to say, and then we're going to say please extract indices from the colors function. So we're putting indices in the colors function bracket, and we know that the values it carries is 1, 3, and 4. Alright, and it says specify the index array anonymously. Create create other variables. Before we do that, we're just going to highlight and run this. See what we get. Extracted 1 through 3. Green, blue, and orange. Green, blue, and orange. We extracted element 1, element 3, and 4. Now we're going to use another way to extract. So we just say others, and then we're going to say colors, and then create a function, and we're going to say just extract 2 and 5. Let's see, run it, and then others, yellow, not available, because of course there isn't a 5. Let's just say let's access 2 and 3. Right? Yellow and blue, others. Alright, use a colon operator to extract a range of indices. This is a more common practice. So we're going to say, alright, our original function is colors, and we're just going to use brackets to extract elements 1 through 4. We're going to highlight and run it. Green, yellow, blue, orange. We got everything. Alright, so we learned about what vectors do, what an index is, how to retrieve a value from a vector using bracket notation, and creating our own functions and retrieving data from it. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below, and I'll see you in the next video.